So we're gonna continue adding to our cub, right? So we started off with underlining key terms. We introduced cub last week, and today we're going to introduce the let statement. So, but the first thing we need to understand is the independent variable and the dependent variable. So the independent variable is sorry. Okay, there we go. So the independent variable is something that you can change, right? For example, either you pour the water or you don't pour the water. What happens after 5 minutes? What happens after 10 minutes? Right? So, like, independent means it's the thing you change, and the dependent variable is what you observe, right? And this is the science of when we talk about independent and dependent. This is coming from science, right? So the independent is something that is changed by the scientist, what is tested, what is manipulated. The dependent variable is something that may be affected by the change. So we hear these terms in science, right? So for example, students of different ages were given the same jigsaw puzzle to put together. They were timed to see how long it took to finish the puzzle. What's the independent? What's the thing that we're changing, and what's the dependent? The thing that we're looking at to see in this problem. Pause the video and write it down in your notes. What do you think the independent is for this problem? What do you think the dependent is? The ages of the student. Different ages were tested by the scientist. Was the independent. And what was the dependent? The time it took to finish the puzzle. What about the brand of soda that contains the most caffeine? What would be the independent? The brand, right? What brand of soda? What would be the dependent? The caffeine, right? So we would look at the brand of soda, and then we would see the caffeine, and that would be our dependent. The brand of cereal containing the most sugar. What would be the independent? The brand of cereal. What would be the dependent? The sugar, right? The sugar amount. Now in algebra, right, we use equations, tables, and graphs with x and y usually in algebra, right? When we're talking about dependent, independent, right? So when we talk about the independent variable in algebra, the independent variable is always located on the x axis of a graph, right? It goes across, right? That's our x-axis. And the independent variable is the input, right? We'll learn this word domain a little later in the unit, but input, right? When we think of it. It's usually the x. The independent stands alone, does not depend on anything, right? And that's why a big thing, a lot of time is an independent variable in algebra. Independent variable is what happens first, right? So we change something first, just like science. We change something and then we see what happens, right, with the dependent. The dependent variable located on the y-axis, right? And the dependent variable is the output, right? And right, our y-axis is the vertical, right? It goes up, down. It's usually in a table or equation. It's usually the y, and the dependent variable depends on the independent variable. The dependent variable is what happens second. All right, let's practice. A student grade depends on how much she studied, right? So the student's grade depends on how much she studies. So our independent is going to be, and we're going to say x is, right, how much, like let's say hours of study. So hopefully you study, a couple of hours a week. And y would be which is the dependent, is the grade, right? The height of a plant and the amount you water it. Okay, the height of the plant and the amount you water it. X would be the water, right? The amount of water. And y, our dependent, would be the height. All right. Now, sorry. We're gonna skip this because I'd rather us do cub and identify the variable. So now in your problems, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cub, right? So you're gonna look at your variable. You're gonna look at cub. So C is you're gonna circle variables, numbers, and unknowns. U, you're gonna underline key terms, and B, you're gonna box what you need to do for the question. And you're also gonna have a let statement. What do I mean? Okay. Identify the operations in the word problem, but we're going to also say we're going to do cub and let, right? All right, Mark has twice as many books as Kevin. I'm going to underline as, and I'm going to also circle Kevin. Why? Because Mark depends on Kevin. That means Kevin is our X and Mark is our Y. Together, that means add, they have 21 books. What is the equation for this problem? The equation is what we have to create. You don't have to answer this problem. I don't want to see an answer to these kind of questions just yet. We're not there yet. We just did cub, and now we're going to do a let statement. And you don't even have to say let, but how a let statement starts is let X be, and look, Mr. Pilisher circled Kevin, put an X there already, the amount of books Kevin has. Now, if you're lazy, you can just say X equals Kevin's books. And I'm okay with laziness when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? Math is about trying to find the shortcut mathematically, the best route. Okay, next one. Sam is 3 years older than Alicia, and Tara is 2 years younger than Alicia. So look, Van happens twice here, and Alicia, everybody is dependent on Alicia, so we're going to circle Alicia. We also have to circle 2. The combined ages, and remember combined is a key term, of Sam, Alicia, and Tara is 29. Find Sam's age. So I'm just going to box Sam's age, right? Again, I don't want to see Sam's age. I don't want to see a number. I just want to see a let statement. And again, we circled Alicia, and that's our X. Why? Because Sam depends on Alicia, and so does Tara. Tara depends on Alicia. So X equals Alicia's age. That's all you have to do today. So you're going to have to upload your notes for today. I want to see the kind of notes you wrote. You can either take a picture or you can upload a digital notes. And then there's 3 problems you have to do after this. All right? Best of luck.